I never thought a single sentence could turn my whole world upside down, but that night, it did. She looked at me, eyes sharp but somehow distant, and said the words I wasn't ready to hear. "I'm leaving tonight." At first, I thought she was joking, or maybe trying to start some dramatic scene, but the look on her face told me she wasn't. There was a calmness in her tone, almost eerie, and it made my stomach twist. Her name is Elena. She's always been the kind of person who carries herself with quiet strength, the kind that makes people believe she can handle anything. I've known her for years, closer than most, and yet that night, she suddenly felt like a stranger. We'd spend hours that evening talking about nothing important. Old memories, silly jokes, things we always laughed about. But underneath it all, I missed the signs, the subtle tension I never knew was there. I tried to play it cool, like I hadn't just been blindsided, but my voice betrayed me. "Leaving? Where, why?" I asked, trying to mask the panic I felt. She hesitated, as if weighing whether to tell me the truth, but then shook her head and smiled faintly. "It's complicated," she said, almost too softly. And that's when I realized I had no idea what was really happening. We'd been through arguments before, little disagreements that passed in a day or two, but this felt different. I could feel it in the air, the sudden heaviness that wrapped around the room. I wanted to reach for her, to hold her back, to demand she explain, but she didn't give me the chance. Instead, she just stood there, calm, packed in her mind, ready to step into something I wasn't part of. I kept thinking maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe she was just upset, needed some space. But something in her eyes told me there was more, something I wasn't ready to see. I watched as she moved quietly, almost like she was already halfway gone. And I wondered, how could someone so close to me, someone I thought I understood, just decide to vanish without warning? All the memories of us together, the late-night talks, the small touches, the laughter, flashed in my head like a cruel montage. And yet, none of that seemed to matter in that moment. I was staring at the possibility of losing her entirely, and I had no idea why. Then, she paused, turned toward me one last time, and whispered something that made my blood run cold. It wasn't about leaving, or about us. It was something I never could have imagined. And as she walked out the door, the truth hovered between us like a storm I wasn't ready to face. I didn't see the real reason coming, but I knew, deep down, that my life was about to change forever. Elena and I have known each other for nearly a decade, and in that time, I thought I understood her completely. She's the kind of person who doesn't just walk into a room. She owns it quietly, with a presence that makes you notice her without even trying. She's smart, witty, and stubborn in the way that can drive someone crazy and yet make them fall for her even harder. And well, I've always been the one who stayed close, the one who tried to match her intensity, even if I could never fully keep up. We met in college, the kind of accidental meeting that somehow feels destined when you look back. At first, it was casual, coffee runs, study sessions, laughs over things that didn't matter. But over the years, the bond grew stronger, deeper, like roots intertwining. Friends and family often told me we were perfect together, but I never wanted to think about what perfect really meant. I just wanted her in my life, near me, even if I didn't fully understand her. Lately, though, something had shifted. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting matches, no sudden arguments, but small things started to feel off. She would disappear for hours without explanation, sometimes days. Her texts became shorter, her laughter a little more forced. I tried not to notice, tried to chalk it up to stress at work, or maybe I was just imagining it. But the tension was growing, like a storm gathering on the horizon. And somehow, I never saw it coming. The night she told me she was leaving, I remembered the days leading up to it. How she lingered in the doorway longer than usual. How she stared out the window, like she was looking for something she couldn't find. I remembered how her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. How she sometimes flinched at my touch, as if preparing herself for something she couldn't say. We were sitting in the apartment we'd shared for years, or at least, I thought we shared it. I kept thinking of all the plans we'd made. Trips, quiet nights in, the little routines that had become ours. And yet, she seemed distant, almost untouchable. There were things I didn't know about her, things she kept to herself, and for the first time, I realized there might be a side of her life I'd never be allowed to see. And that's the thing about Elena. She's always been fiercely independent. She protects herself with walls that only she can enter, and over the years, I'd come to accept it, thinking it was just part of who she was. But that night, I understood there was more than just independence at play. Something was happening, something bigger than us, bigger than I could imagine. I wanted to ask her, to beg for answers, but I couldn't. Something in her energy told me the truth wasn't meant for me yet. I watched her quietly, trying to read the small tells, the subtle shifts in her expression. But the more I looked, the less I understood. And then, as she packed a single bag, I realized I had no idea what I was about to lose, or what secret she was carrying that could change everything. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. Elena standing there, calm yet distant, packing her things as if she had been planning this for weeks, left me spinning. My mind raced, trying to piece together what I could have missed, what had driven her to this. Was it me? Had I said something wrong? Or was this about something far beyond our relationship, something I didn't even know existed? I tried to speak, to bridge the growing chasm between us, but the words caught in my throat. Every attempt to ask her, every plea for explanation, seemed to bounce off the walls of her quiet resolve. Elena, please, I said finally, my voice breaking. You don't just leave without telling me why. What's going on? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she paused, lifting her eyes to mine, and for a moment, I thought I might finally see the truth. But her eyes, those eyes I thought I knew so well, were unreadable, and that uncertainty stabbed me sharper than any anger or hurt could have. She sighed, a soft, almost sad sound, and shook her head. It's not something I can explain right now, she said, each word deliberate, heavy with unspoken meaning. The air between us felt charged, electric, like the calm before a storm I wasn't ready for. Every instinct in me screamed to push harder, to demand answers, but another part, a quieter, more rational side, warned that whatever she was hiding was fragile, and prying too soon could shatter it entirely. I looked around the apartment, taking in the small traces of our life together, the scattered mugs, the worn-out couch, the tiny notes we left for each other over the years. They suddenly felt like relics of a past I might never get back. I wanted to hold her, to beg her to stay, but I also feared that doing so would push her further away. Time seemed to stretch, each second dragging out painfully. I realized I was standing at the edge of something I couldn't control, staring into a truth I wasn't prepared for. And then she paused at the door, turned her back for a brief moment, and whispered something over her shoulder. The words were soft, almost casual, but they hit me like a punch. Something about tonight, something about leaving, something I couldn't ignore. I froze. My heart pounded, my mind reeled, and for the first time, I felt utterly powerless. Whatever reason she had, it was bigger than me, bigger than our relationship, and it was coming tonight. And I had no idea if I could do anything to stop it. The night felt heavier than usual, like the darkness itself was pressing down on us. I couldn't sit still, pacing the apartment, my thoughts spinning in a chaotic loop. Every sound, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, even the distant sirens outside, made me jump. Elena moved quietly, methodically, as if she was performing a ritual I wasn't meant to witness. Each movement seemed purposeful, yet I couldn't grasp why. I tried to speak again, but my voice faltered. Elena, if you're leaving tonight, at least tell me what's happening. Please. She didn't answer. She just stopped for a moment by the window, looking out at the city lights, her silhouette framed against the glass. I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands clutched the edge of the windowsill. There was fear there, or maybe determination, I couldn't tell which. Something in the way she glanced at me made my heart race. There was urgency, but also a strange distance, like she had already stepped into a world I couldn't follow. I wanted to move closer, to touch her, to anchor her to this place, to me, but my instincts told me to wait. Whatever she was about to do, it had to be done alone. Then came the subtle clues, the things I had missed until now. A folded envelope on the counter I hadn't noticed before, her phone buzzing silently on the table, and the faint scent of something unusual in the air, like perfume or smoke. I couldn't place it. Each detail made my stomach twist tighter, each sign hinting at a story I hadn't been told. My mind raced through possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last, and yet none of them seemed close to the truth. I remembered the nights she had come home late, pretending everything was fine, the strange phone calls she took in another room, her sudden disappearances. It all felt connected now, like pieces of a puzzle I hadn't realized existed. And I wondered, had I ever truly known her, or had I just been living in my own version of the story? The apartment was silent again, except for the occasional creak of the floorboards beneath her steps. And then, without warning, she turned to me, eyes wide, lips trembling slightly, and whispered something I couldn't fully hear. My heart stopped. Whatever she was about to reveal, it wasn't just about leaving. It was something far bigger, something that would shatter everything I thought I knew. I took a cautious step closer, my throat tight, my mind screaming for answers. But Elena raised a hand, stopping me, her expression pleading for patience. And in that moment, I understood. The truth wasn't ready to be spoken, and yet it was already here, looming over us like a storm about to break. I watched her, trapped in a mix of fear, confusion, and desperate hope, realizing that tonight, nothing would ever be the same. And then, just as I thought I might finally grasp what was happening, she disappeared into the shadows of the hallway, leaving me alone with a question I couldn't answer, and a secret I wasn't ready to uncover. I thought I had finally understood, finally caught a glimpse of why Elena was leaving, but I was wrong. Just as I turned toward the door, ready to follow her, my phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen, from a number I didn't recognize. "She's not who you think she is. Don't try to stop her." My hands shook as I reread it, heart hammering. What did that mean? Not who I thought she was. Could it be that everything I believed about her, the years, the closeness, the trust, was a lie? My mind raced, trying to reconcile the woman I loved with someone who could vanish without a trace and hide secrets so deep I couldn't even guess them. And then, the apartment door creaked again, though Elena hadn't come back inside. A soft, metallic click echoed from the hallway. I froze, realizing she had left something behind, not by accident, but deliberately. Something that wasn't meant for me yet, something that would change everything I thought I knew about her, about us, about tonight. In that moment, I understood. The truth was far worse, far more dangerous than I could have imagined. And whatever Elena was involved in, I might already be in it too. I grabbed the envelope she had left on the counter, my hands trembling. Inside were a set of documents, a plane ticket, and a small USB drive. My mind raced as I pieced together the fragments of the night. She wasn't just leaving town. She was vanishing, stepping into something bigger, something dangerous. And I had no idea if I could follow her, or if even trying would put me in the same peril. Then I noticed a note, written in her careful, looping handwriting. "I can't explain everything. You have to trust me, even from afar. Open the USB only if you want the truth, and be prepared." My heart pounded as I slid the drive into my laptop. Files, videos, and messages flooded the screen, revealing a hidden life I could never have imagined. Elena had been working undercover, unraveling a criminal network that had infiltrated the highest levels of our city. Everything, her late nights, her secret calls, her sudden disappearances, made sense now. She hadn't left because of me, or because she didn't care. She was fighting for something bigger, something dangerous enough to threaten her life. Just as I tried to process it all, my phone rang. The caller ID was blocked. I answered cautiously. A voice I didn't recognize whispered, "We know you have her trail. Stop now, or you'll regret it." My stomach dropped. The danger wasn't just hers anymore. It was mine too. The world I thought I lived in, the safe bubble of our life together, had been shattered. Elena had left, yes, but not forever. She had left me a choice. Follow her into the truth and the danger, or stay behind, safe but forever ignorant of the world she was trying to protect. And just as I made my decision, the final shock hit. A message popped up on my screen, from Elena herself. "I'll be back, but not the same. Trust me, or lose everything." I realized then that tonight wasn't just about leaving. It was about transformation, about choices, and about stepping into a reality I had never been prepared for. And the question that haunted me most was whether I was ready to step into it, or if I would lose her forever. The night stretched on, and I sat alone, staring at the blinking cursor on my laptop. Elena was gone, and yet she was everywhere, in the apartment, in my thoughts, in the small traces of her presence she had left behind. The documents, the videos, the USB, they painted a picture of a life I could barely comprehend. She had been protecting people, uncovering truths, and risking everything. all while keeping me in the dark. I felt a mix of awe, fear, and guilt. How could I have missed the signs? How could I have been so blind? Morning came, soft and quiet, with sunlight spilling across the floor. The apartment felt empty, but there was a strange sense of peace in that emptiness. I realized that Elena hadn't abandoned me. She had given me a choice. I could either stay in the comfort of what I knew, safe but ignorant, or step forward into the unknown, embracing the danger, the truth, and the part of her life she had hidden. I gathered the courage to act. I followed the trail she had left, the messages, the addresses, the hints in her notes. Each step felt like walking into a world I had only glimpsed through fragments, but also like walking closer to her, closer to understanding her, closer to sharing in the life she had been protecting all along. And then, finally, I saw her. Not at the apartment, not at some clandestine meeting point, but in a quiet park, early morning, sunlight glinting on her hair. She turned at the sound of my footsteps, and for a moment, we just looked at each other. No words were needed. Everything, the fear, the danger, the secrets, the longing, was in that look. I had to do it, she said softly, voice trembling but steady. I couldn't let anyone else know, not yet. But you were patient. You waited, even when you didn't know what was coming. I stepped closer, careful, feeling the weight of everything between us. I don't care about the danger, I said. I care about you. Whatever it is, wherever it leads. I'm here. For a long moment, she studied me, then smiled. A small, quiet smile that held 1,000 emotions. Relief, gratitude, and something deeper, something I could only hope was trust. Then you're braver than I thought, she whispered. The world hadn't changed. It was still complicated, uncertain, full of shadows and risks. But in that moment, we had each other, and that mattered more than anything. The future was unknown, yes, but we had survived the storm together. And sometimes, that's all that really counts. As we walked away, side by side, I realized that life isn't about avoiding the unknown. It's about stepping into it, even when it scares you, and trusting the people you love to do the same. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt hope. Because some truths, no matter how shocking or dangerous, can bring you closer than you ever imagined.